In this video, we're gonna install serverless on our machine. I have to install serverless globally on my machine. I'm using Mac, so I need to add the sudo keyword. If you're using Windows, you don't need to add the sudo keyword. I need to install serverless. I have already installed serverless on my machine. I don't need to install it again. Let me show you my serverless version. I can use this command to get the serverless version. I'm currently using 1.33.1. Now, how do you create the serverless project? First of all, I'm going to create a new directory, SLS demo. I'm going to navigate to the SLS demo directory. If you execute this command, it will give me some couple of the commands. Now you can access these commands: serverless create, serverless deploy, serverless deploy function, serverless invoke local, invoke a function locally. So I'm interested in create command. It will create a new serverless service. So basically, I'm going to create a new serverless service. There is a shortcut which is SLS. You can use serverless or you can use simple SLS. SLS create. If I will write this help command, it will give me a couple of the commands. Awesome. We have to specify our template for the AWS service. Basically, what service you want to use. Do you want to use AWS Java, AWS Node.js, Google Node.js? All these services are available. So I'm interested in AWS Node.js. You can also specify the path where the service should be created. I have already navigated to my folder. There is nothing here. So I'm going to create a service inside the root folder. SLS create. Let me provide the template, or you can use the -t. The name of the template, AWS Node.js. Awesome. A boilerplate project has generated. Let me open the code in my code editor. Let's review our files. We have 3 files: handler.js. Here we will write our AWS Lambda code. This is our Lambda function. We have configuration file, which is serverless.yaml file. You can write the name of your service. Let's say I'm going to use SLS API. You can choose any name, and each service is a combination of multiple Lambda functions. You can choose your provider. You can also specify your region here. Copy this region. You can find the AWS regions here. Say let me show you AWS region. You can find your closest region. It depends on your location. So I'm going to use the Asia, this one, AP South -1. Let me use this one. So I'm going to replace that. This is our Node.js version, and the name of the provider, AWS. So here is a configuration of our Lambda function. We have hello object. Here we need to provide the path of our Lambda function. The handler function is located inside the handler.js file, and the name of our AWS Lambda function is hello. You can see that. There are two ways to invoke the Lambda function. Let me show you. The first one is you can deploy the function. Basically, you can deploy the AWS server by using this command, and then you can invoke the function. I'll show you deployment part in the later modules. Now I'm gonna work on the local part. So I have a command invoke. Let me show you. It will give me some of the commands. Now I can invoke the function locally. If you have deployed this serverless project, you can use this command invoke. Let's run the project. Basically, I need to execute my function, which is our hello. SLS invoke local, and I want to execute the hello function because we have specified the name of our Lambda function, which is hello, and it is going to execute this function, and you will see the response here. You can update the response whatever you want. Welcome to serverless. Awesome, you will see the message. Welcome to serverless. In the next video, I'll talk about the YAML file. If you don't know what this syntax is and how to create a YAML file, how to create object in YAML file, how to create arrays in YAML file, I'll talk more about YAML file in the next video. In this video, I'm going to talk about the YAML. If you saw the serverless.yaml, you will see the same syntax. Let me show you this YAML file. If you will open the serverless.yaml file, and you will see the YAML syntax. It's an object, it's a key value pair. The syntax is similar to the JSON file. Let me show you with the help of example. How do you create the key value pair? Let's say we have property name. The value of the name is, let's say, Jendo. Let's say age. You can create the number. You can also create the floating point number. Let's say salary is 1000 or whatever you want to say. You can also create the Boolean variable is manager. Let's say that. The most important stuff I'm going to talk about, you must have YAML plugin. If you check the VS Code extension, you will find this plugin, YAML support by Red Hat. I have installed this plugin. You can also check, is it YAML correct or not? You can go to this one, yamllint.com. I'm gonna go, click on the go. So valid successful. We have successfully written the valid YAML. Let's say we have a person. I'm gonna write the JSON. We have name property. Let's say Jendo. I told you the YAML and the JSON are same. Let's say we have age 21, salary we have 5000, and we have is manager property. Type is Boolean. Now, how do you convert this JSON object to YAML? What you have to do, you have to follow the indentation pattern. Person, you have name, age, salary, and is manager. Cool. So this is how you will convert the JSON object to YAML. You can also verify from this website, convert JSON to YAML. You can use this tool, best online tool to convert JSON to YAML. So let's say I'm gonna paste the JSON. it is going to convert JSON to YAML. You will see this one. The same concept here. What you can do, you can take your serverless.yaml file and you can convert into the JSON. Let me show you. Let's say YAML to JSON. I'm gonna copy this YAML and I'm gonna paste it here. It will convert to the JSON. You can see that we have a service property, and the value of service property is SLS API. And you will see the provider object, and you can see that we have provider object and we have three properties inside the provider object: name, runtime, region. And we have a functions property. Basically it's an object. Provider is also an object, and inside the functions object we have a hello object, which is our function, and here you will define the handler. I also want to talk about the arrays. What is the syntax of the array? Let's say we have an array. Let's say person have an array, or you can say that let's define another object. Let's say customer, and I'm gonna have the address property, or you can say that companies. Let's say companies. I'm gonna define the array X company, or maybe Y company, and the Z company. So how do you convert this customer object to JSON? We have to create the customer object. Let's define the properties. We have a companies. And how do you define the arrays? So that's the very important stuff. You have to add this dash, and here you can write the X, Y, and the Z. It is not a correct YAML syntax. We have to add the dash to each value. Say I'm gonna add the Y, and I'm gonna add the Z. Awesome, it looks good. So you can verify it from this one. I'm gonna copy the YAML. Let's convert to the JSON. What is wrong? Oops, we need to provide the YAML here. Now I'm gonna convert to the JSON. Cool. You can see that it looks good. So this is the syntax of the array value. You can also create an array of objects. Let's say I have a friends array. It's an array of objects. So how do you create that? First, I'm gonna create the JSON. Let's say we have friends array. We have ID. Let's say it's 1, and we have name Jane. Let's say we have 2 friends. Awesome. How do you convert this array into the YAML? Let me show you. I'm going to use the dash here, or you can also follow this pattern. ID should be, let's say 1, name should be Jane, or otherwise you can follow this pattern. Name should be Jane. I don't need to add the dash here. First, let me add the ID. I'm going to convert it to 2. I don't need to add dash here. Let's say we have a Jane. So I'm going to copy this one. Let's try to test it here. YAML to JSON. Boom. You will see the array of friends. Now you can create multiple objects. Let's say ID 3. Name should be Smith. I'm going to test that. YAML to JSON. It's a valid JSON file. In the last video, you have learned about the YAML syntax. If you open the serverless.yaml file, you will see the service, and each service will have provider. If you are building the complex application, maybe you have 5 modules. Let's say we have a customer module, payments module, manager module, or what you can say products module, you can divide your modules into services. So you can create a separate YAML file for each service. Each service will have provider. I'm going to use AWS, and you can define your Lambda functions here. I'll talk more about resources and plugins in the later videos. I already showed you how to execute this function. SLS invoke. I have to invoke this function locally, and the name of the function, which is hello. First time it will take some time to execute this serverless function. Now you will see your status code and the body. What I want to do, I want to create another handler. Let's say you can choose any name. I'm going to create the source folder, and inside the source folder, let's create a job.js. What I can do, I can create a jobs folder. Let's create a new handler. Let's say handler.js. I'm gonna follow this pattern. I'm gonna place each Lambda function into a separate file. Let's say you can have create.js, list.js, update.js, module.exports.handler. Here is our Lambda function. I'm going to use async await. It will take context and event. The first argument is event and the context. I'll talk more about the events and the context. Now you can return the status code. $200. Let's add the body. If you have to add the JSON, you have to convert into the strings. JSON string, a JavaScript value, usually an object or array to be converted. Basically, it would convert a JavaScript value to JavaScript object notation string. Let's say message, I am from jobs handler. So how can you configure into your serverless.yaml file? I'm going to add a new function. Let's say jobs. Here I'm going to write the name of your handler function, which is our Lambda function, jobs. Let's define the handler. Here I need to provide the path of our Lambda function. Inside the source, we have a jobs, and inside the jobs, we have a handler, and inside the handler, we have a handler function. Inside the jobs folder, we have a handler.js. Inside the handler.js, we have a handler function. Now it's time to invoke this function. I'm going to invoke this jobs function. Oops, it should be handler. That's why I got this error. I'm going to run the function again. Now you will see my response. Let's talk about the events. I'm going to create a new file, events.json. You can also send the input into the events. Basically, AWS provides a lot of events. Let me show you. Lambda events. AWS Lambda events. You can see these type of events. AWS supported these type of events. Some of them are S3, DynamoDB. Let me show you. Like AWS supported these type of events. S3, DynamoDB, Amazon Cognito, Amazon API Gateway. Amazon S3, when let's say we are building an application in which user can upload a photo. If user uploads a photo, then what S3 events will do, it will fire our Lambda function. Then we have to process some information. The similar stuff for the Amazon DynamoDB. When you want to save the data, Amazon will fire this event and your Lambda function will be fired. We are going to use Amazon API Gateway. This is the perfect example. You can invoke your Lambda function over HTTPs. It means we are building the REST API. Let's say /get endpoint to fetch all the jobs. If user will send the request to the /jobs endpoint, then Amazon will fire our Lambda function. Don't worry if you are not getting this concept. Don't worry. There is another example of events. Let's say we have another message. Hello world. So I want to use this message. So how can you provide the events? If you check this SLS, let me show you. SLS invoke local. Please give me all the commands. Now you can provide the path to JSON or the YAML file. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna provide -p events event.json file. I also need to invoke the function. Let's say I would like to access it inside the jobs handler. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna return the event here. Let's say I'm gonna change this value, say name of the job, Node.js developer, and it will return this event, or you can log the event here. And the name of the function I want to execute, jobs. Now you can see that it has successfully logged this message. The value is hello world. Let's say I'm going to add another property. Let's say job title, Node.js developer. Let's say the salary 1,000, 20,000. So I'm gonna run the function again. I also providing the path of the event.json. Boom, you will see this property salary, title, and the message. I also want to talk about the context. What is inside the context? You can log the context here. Here you will see the context object. Inside the context object, we have AWS request ID, invoke ID, log group name, memory limitation, stuff like that, fail or done. It's information about this Lambda function. I'll talk more about how to use context in AWS Lambda. So what we have done so far, we have successfully configured our Lambda function, and you have learned how to use the event, the custom event, how to use the arguments inside your handler function, and you have learned what is inside the context. We are going to create the CRUD API. A user can create jobs, update jobs, delete jobs, and find all the jobs. First of all, I want to show you another plugin, which is Serverless Offline. This plugin is used to test AWS Lambda function locally on your machine. It's a development mode plugin. It's very helpful plugin for only development purpose. Let's say if you will not use this plugin, what you have to do, you have to deploy your function manually. You have to deploy the function, then you have to change the code inside your handler function. Let's say if I will change anything here, I have to deploy the function to test my Lambda functions. So the perfect use case is use serverless offline. You can read this text. Why do I need the serverless offline plugin? These are the features. You can integrate with authorizers, proxies, timeouts. You can set the response parameters and request parameters. You can also enable the CORS. You don't need to use the nodemon. It has already integrated the nodemon. So first of all, we need to install this plugin. I'm going to install as a dev. Let me add it here. The serverless offline plugin has installed. Now we need to configure it. Basically, it will create the HTTP server. Now we need to set up some configuration. We have to define inside the serverless.yaml. I'm going to register the plugin here. If you have read this text, get rid of this one. I'm going to remove that. Let's make it more simple. Get rid of everything here. I'm going to remove that. Awesome. Now you can define your plugins here, or either let me use it here. Cool. We also need to do a little bit setting inside the package.json file. Oops. What the heck is that? I don't have package.json file. Let me init the package.json file. Now I can install serverless offline. Amazing. You will see serverless offline dependency. I'm going to create a new dev command to run the serverless project locally. SLS offline, and we need to use the start command. Let me provide my port. So I'm going to use 3000. Let me run the project. npm run dev. Cool. Project is running at localhost :3000. Let's try to send the request at localhost :3000. I think it did not start this project yet. It will take some time. Let me show you. Awesome. Now I did not define any routes for hello. I did not define any routes for jobs. Our project or API is running at localhost :3000. If you send request to the localhost :3000, you will see this status code 404. Serverline offline status. Route not found. Because I did not define any route. In the next video, I'll talk about how to create routes. Let's create another endpoint to fetch a single job. I'm going to copy this one. Let's say here we have fetch job, because I need to get the single job, or you can say get job. The handler should be what is the find one dot handler. The method should be get. Here is the most important stuff. We have to provide the ID as a request parameter. So how do you send the ID as a request parameter? You have to follow this pattern ID, and you can also define the request parameters. And let me double check it from the documentation. If you open the API gateway from the AWS events, here you will find the request parameters. So you can pass the parameters. Let me pass here ID set to true. I'm going to set the ID to true. Cool. Let's create the file handler function. You can say that find one. I'm going to copy the same stuff from the list.js and I'm going to paste inside the find one. This time I need to find the job on the based on ID. So I need to first find the job index, jobs.find. So how do you get the ID here? Let me show you. Job.id should be equals to event.path parameters path parameters.id. So I can log the event. So it will give me the job index. I only want to return the single job, so I can find that on the based on job index. I have updated the serverless.yaml. Let's restart the server. Here you will see the new route. We need to find the job on the based on ID. I would like to provide the ID 1. We need to send the get request. What is the method name? Yeah, it's a get request. Here you will see the body. There is nothing here inside the body. And if you check the event, I want to show you the path parameters. Do we have path parameters property? Here we have the path parameters ID and the type is string. I don't need to use strict equal. Let's try to test it. Aha, we need to find the index. Let's try to do that. Cool. I got the job on the based on ID. Let's try to true. Cool. I'm going to provide invalid job ID and you will see the empty result. So in this way, you can access the request parameters. You can access parameters from the path parameters object, and here we have the ID.